who is now joining us. Mr. Surana, afternoon. Ashesha this side. Thanks so much for joining us. And first up on the latest development on hike in export duty and the announcements that came in today morning. How do you read the latest development that have come in from Nayara Energy, and do you expect other players to follow suit?
Good afternoon. We need to see that as far as the private players are concerned, whether Nayara or the other private players, they were selling at a price which was higher than the price at which the state public sector marketing companies were selling during these last 3-4 months. And logic was very simple because there were a lot of under recoveries while the state PSUs have still tried to maintain the prices, but probably the private players did not absorb the full under recoveries and they were passing on a part of it to the consumers. Now, when the crude prices have come down, which has gone up above $100 and now it is hovering around, let's say, $72, $73. So they are only moderating that price to bring it in line with what the state market companies are doing. And that is purely a business logic. Otherwise, they will lose the business volumes. As far as the state PSU OMCs are concerned, they were already having the under recoveries. They maintained the prices when there was substantial jump in the crude price and the product prices. So I would think that probably it will take time for them to reduce the price further because they may have to recover some of the losses which they had during this period when the crude prices were running, let's say $110, $115, once upon a time to $126. And also the dollar was very strong. Now, as of today, while the crude prices have come down, the product cracks are still high, and the dollar is also still not moderated to the extent it should. Second thing is, though there is a peace MOU, but it is hanging on a delicate balance right now, and every day we see some movement. The market is believing that probably the thing will sort it out and the prices will continue to remain low. The third point is that right now the crude prices are low because all of a sudden there is a supply of the locked up inventory which were not able to come out from the Strait of Hormuz. And also there is a release of Iranian barrels which were not coming earlier in the market. I understand around 40 million barrels of Iranian oil had come in. So once this is basically the standard vessels. Once they are out, we need to see when the empty vessels have to go again, what is their risk perception on the whole thing, and how the things move, and we may see a little bit again in increasing the price of the crude. So I would see that the state marketing companies may probably take time to bring down the prices further.
Okay, Mr. Surana, at what point do you believe that perhaps oil marketing companies will go ahead and lower their prices? Currently, Brent crude in the global market is at that $72, $73 per barrel. I do understand that they have cumulative losses that they have to recover by virtue of lower crude oil prices currently. But at what point do you think they will actually go ahead and implement a price cut?
I think that will be two elements. One thing is how stable these lower prices remains. For if they remain substantially longer time they remains, then it will be much faster recovery of the accumulated losses for them. But if suppose there are jumps ups and down, then there will be a problem. That is one issue. Second thing is they would have purchased the crude oil at a higher price during the last days. It is not that today the price has come down and you are buying again today. So they have to exhaust that higher price crude also. And the third part is that how the situation on actually the peace deal moves. I think the perception on these three will decide. So I think, in my opinion, it should take some time.
Okay, and what, in
It
your
will be difficult to give
opinion?
an exact timeline on that. But and one more thing we should not forget that the government has also cut down the excise duty substantially. So government may have view whether they have to, like diesel excise duty has been brought to nil. So whether it will continue to be nil. So in the past, the government has tried to vary the excise duty, keeping the pump prices same. At the same time, ensuring that the oil marketing companies also do not have windfall gains if there is a moderate prices of the crude. So we need to see the government view also on that.
Okay, and what will the cumulative loss be or under recovery be for these oil marketing companies, if you have a rough estimate of that, because that will be able that by that we will be able to perhaps gauge how soon oil marketing companies could lower fuel prices.
See, there are three elements to that. One thing is the LPG under recovery, which is a controlled commodity. And if the government may try to compensate for it. As far as the petrol and diesels are concerned, they are not controlled commodities. so that they have to recover from the market dynamic system. Now, both the way there was an issue. The actual under recovery had been varying on day-to-day basis. It has gone up to 1,000 crore a day also. It came down substantially over a period of time. But it will depend on company to company that what time they bought the crude, at what price they bought the crude. Because during the time when the crude was not available, it was important for them to tie up to ensure the availability of the products. And therefore, it will depend on companies to companies. So I would not like to hazard and guess that, okay, this is the number which the companies have. And that will also be a confidential information for them, because at what prices they have tied up the crude, that will be information which is a commercial interest to the company. So it won't be appropriate for me to straightway say, okay, this is it. But there are some numbers which were commented upon in the daily briefing by the government.
It is a company-specific issue, and perhaps over the course of the next few days, that under-recovery amount will gradually fall as crude oil prices continue to remain stable.
In the quarter result, probably at that time you'll be able to get a reasonable guess on this.
Right. Let's also talk about crude oil prices in the global market. You did tell us that suddenly crude oil prices fell because of excess inventory in the system. There was excess supply. Iranian barrels also came into the system. Where do you see oil prices headed? And given your statement, do you expect that once the excess inventory is out of the way, crude oil prices could surge a little bit?
I would think so, and that is what most of the people in market believe, that you may see this downward pressure on the oil for some time, till the stranded vessels come out and the locked up inventory which the Middle East countries who were not able to supply, let's say Saudi and UAE were still able to ship a part of it through Red Sea or through Fujairah port, but the countries like Qatar or Bahrain or Kuwait, they were not able to ship at all. So there were a number of vessels which were filled up, loaded, but were not able to come out. So now once that is out, and Iran will also have a reason to export as much as possible for their own economics and to take the benefit of this peace period. So once that is out, after that, I think there may be so it will come down for some time and then it may go up. One more angle will be there, that the strategic reserves which many countries have released during this period to tide over the problem, and in many countries it is a decade low. So they may have a reason to at least shore up that will create a demand. The second thing is, if there are sanctions on Russia, there will be some issue with some barrels will be out of that. So we need to be mindful of both these factors as well. But I assume that after this initial fall of the crude prices, there may be again a rise. It may not be to the same extent where it breaks to three-digit figures, but I think it will be more than what the lowest point it touches now.
Okay, so perhaps we could see some bit of uptick in global oil prices once the excess inventory is out of the way and out of the system. Mr. Surana, thank you so much for taking your time out and joining us at such a short notice and sharing your thoughts on where crude oil prices and fuel prices in the domestic market are headed. Thanks so much for joining us today. And shifting focus